Hey there, everybody. Wanted to do a quick video to answer all your questions about Dent Maker. So if you haven't seen the original video, I'll have a link to the original video down below announcing Dent Makers. But what is a dent maker? A dent maker is someone who is making an impact on their own terms, being the key point here. So that's what a dent maker is. You can do anything to make a dent, including just simply existing. And Dent Makers itself is all about doing that in the best, most efficient way possible. So, what is Dent Makers itself? What is the goal, the plan for? So, first and foremost, Dent Makers is a knowledge network, kind of like Skillshare or Udemy or any of the others, or Masterclass even, any of the others that you've seen. But it's kind of like more simple, and we are curating our information. So, we're going out and finding the best teachers, the best information. Period. We're having our own experience with that information, and we're sharing that with you. So we're finding the best ways to do anything related to dent making, and we're sharing basically how we did it. And again, some we will be having teachers in dent makers and experts and people who are going to do Q&As and things like that. And they're all experts in their own right, and they are also going to be sharing kind of the curated knowledge. But the curated knowledge is meant to be just the juice, just the best information when it comes to making a dent. We're also, kind of like underneath that, the whole point of Dent Makers is there is going to be a circle community. There is a circle community that already has a bunch of people in it. Of course, the mini courses. Each course we're attempting to release one per week. Once we really get going, probably in the month of June is when things are really going to start taking off with Dent Makers, or July at the latest. And we're calling these cheat sheets for an extraordinary life. You could look at this as like cliff notes for living an extraordinary life. There's a lot of information out there, and like I said, we want to focus on just the juice, just the best information that is going to lead to the biggest impact to help you make an impact in your life as well. And so we are, each little course is going to teach something, a skill, something that you can learn that you can implement into your life. We're going to provide a cheat sheet with each little course, and you can then again implement that into your life in the simplest way possible. And this is going to be a growing library, and we're going to talk more about that in just a second as well. We also have the book club. Every single month, we're going to be covering one book in depth. These include some of my, all of my favorite books. That's where we're starting with. We're actually starting with Psycho-Cybernetics first. That is going to be the month of April. And after that, we're also going to have a Q&A call every single week. The Q&A calls are basically a bonus. For now, we're probably going to be doing them Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That might change in the future, but for right now, that is the time of the Q&A calls. All of this, of course, everything's being recorded, and you will have access to the recordings in Dent Makers. So a lot of people ask, what kind of courses can they expect in Dent Makers? And, the first thing is we are focusing on what I call core skills. And so, a dent maker could be, a YouTuber, an influencer, entrepreneur, just a human, an employee. You could be a parent. And, all of these things could potentially use the skill of persuasion, right? So, YouTubers can use persuasion in their titles, for example. They can also use it in their storytelling. But influencers can use it for storytelling, entrepreneurs for selling, humans for love, for example. You're persuading someone to put up with you, right? So persuasion is important. And, if you're an employee, a negotiation, a persuasion is an important part of that. So with core skills, I have found just over the years and, with my own issues and problems, right, that for the most part, it's not the kind of the main skill. Like there are a lot of courses out there about learning how to write titles, for example. There are plenty of courses out there that have to do with storytelling. But, over the years, I have found that if I kind of learn the core skill, the basic part of the skill, and that I can apply it to any of these things and do pretty well. Again, the focus here with Dent Makers is the 80-20, learning as just enough to be dangerous, and also just enough so that you're not wasting a bunch of time. There's more information out there than ever nowadays, and there's a lot of information to sift through. So we want to provide just the 80-20, and core skills is a great way to do that. So this is just one example, and I'm not even saying that we're going to necessarily cover persuasion, although we actually probably will. It's one of my favorite topics. But this is just an example of how the core skill of learning persuasion can apply to many other things in life. And it also doesn't matter what you're coming to Dent Makers for. You can be any one of these things, and persuasion will help you in some way. But we are also, a big part of Dent Makers is we are going to talk a lot about how, I don't think anyone really does a good job of talking about how to apply skills or apply core skills to different aspects of life. So, just learning persuasion isn't going to necessarily help you write better titles if you're coming to Dent Makers for title, to become a YouTuber, for example, or to learn that skill. It's not going to help you unless you understand also how to apply that. And we spend a good amount of time, or plan on spending a good amount of time, talking about how you can do that. We also are going to be focusing on these main four pillars for Dent Makers. And these four pillars are the foundation, which is kind of like your foundation. And really, the foundation has to do with your environment and what you surround yourself with. Some of the topics we will probably talk about for this pillar are things like goal setting, habit forming, time management, personal development, motivation, things like that. So, every single month we'll probably have a course or a mini course or an expert that's teaching a mini course all about, you can expect probably one to be about a topic like that. Next is digging for gold, which is exactly what it sounds like. We're digging for gold is something that I came up with years ago, and it's basically about going out, looking for information, learning something, finding the best information, and then putting it into practice. It's totally changed my life. Yes, it's a very simple practice, but there are a lot of things that go into digging for gold, research, in collecting information. Again, I think people are worried about AI taking over, but no one can necessarily collect information like you can or learn things and then put those things into practice, have an experience with them, and then share that experience. That's where the gold part comes in with digging for gold. And also constantly educating yourself is a great way to make yourself more valuable. It doesn't take a lot of work. It's actually pretty easy to do. And if I can do it, you definitely can do it. And this is something that I spend, I don't know, maybe a half an hour a day doing. And that is, I'm pushing it when I say 30 minutes, right? For digging for gold, but pretty much every single day I watch a video about YouTube, for example. I learn something new, I apply the skill, and I see what happens. But there is a lot that goes into that because, again, you need to record the skill, you need to make sure you're running a good experiment and all that other stuff. So we're going to be talking about that. Next is curation. I think that curation will be the most valuable skill moving forward, especially with the robots taking over, right? Curation is finding the best information and putting it into practice, and we're going to talk all about that. We're also going to talk about curating your perfect day, which I think is important. I think everybody should have a good idea of what their perfect day could be, and then you should be able to reverse engineer your perfect day so that you can actually know the steps you need to take so you can live a better day. So we're going to talk all about that. And finally, of course, making your dent is the last pillar, which is all about creating something tangible. So this could be you sharing your voice. We're going to talk a lot about sharing your voice, which, that could include YouTube, blogging, sharing information, but it could also include something like, entrepreneurship or spreading your message or just getting attention on things that matter to you, whatever that means. So that is that pillar there. So that's the types of courses that you can expect inside Dent Makers. Again, a lot of them are going to be around personal development, growth, sharing your voice, learning, better ways to learn, persuasion, pretty much anything like that. But again, I think the focus is going to be on core skills. So, what makes Dent Makers different? What is the Dent Makers difference, right? Well, most courses, they kind of focus on one idea and they leave things out, or at least I have found. If you don't know, I come from the marketing world and I've worked on tons and tons of marketing launches for products. And one thing I noticed over the years, and one of the big reasons I got out of the industry in the first place is because I noticed that a lot of these courses and things like that, they're all missing information. Then, there's stuff that's kind of left out, and you always miss out on something. And I have a major problem with that, number one. Number two, they contain a lot of fluff as well. So a lot of courses, they charge a lot of money, so they have to include a lot of information, which is great. But, I always say I was that kid in class where, the teacher would tell us, oh, you have to write a paper. And I would be the kid that would raise his hand and say, okay, how long does it need to be? And the teacher would say, as long as it needs to be. And you better believe that I handed in a paper that was about a sentence long, right? So I didn't do any more work than I needed to. And this has served me well as an adult. It actually did not, it led to a lot of failure as a child. But one thing I will say is that as an adult, it kind of led me to really focus on what's important and get rid of the fluff, right? And so Dent Makers, really is kind of like support without the fluff. I look at Dent Makers as providing you with information that can help you make your dent. But these are all skills, and again, core skills that really support you. So they're coming more from a place of support. We are all really busy. So I don't know about anyone else, but I don't have hours upon hours to sit through courses like all day long. Although I do, I do go through a lot of courses still nowadays, but I don't have a lot of time to do it. Right. So what I would, really, we are going to be making sure that we give you just the juice, just the good information with all the courses. The other thing is that we're going to be making sure, and one thing that we hope to kind of create as we move forward, and definitely over the next year at least, is we want to create kind of little ecosystems around an idea. And so, if we take, this is just an example, and I'm not saying that financial success is going to be a big thing on Dent Makers, although it might be. When you take an idea like financial success, there are a lot of things that go in that make someone financially successful, and it's not just financial success. So I think traditional online education would maybe create a course and it would just be about financial success, and that would be it. But with Dent Makers, I want to make sure that we're focusing on creating things around financial success so that you're creating an environment of success. So to be financially successful, you might also need to remove money blocks, for example. Affirmations can be useful. Business strategy and actually understanding business strategy can be useful, and also actually learning how to be more financially successful and what to learn and what to educate yourself on, that can be important as well. This is just one example. So all these things work together to create financial success. And these outside things, kind of like I said, the core skills, the core ideas, that's what I really want to focus on. And I don't want everyone spending a lot of time doing it, right? I want you to come in here, get your good information, and be able to get a result from that information, based off of whatever this inner circle is, if that makes sense. So that's kind of like what we're working on when it comes to how we put all the information together. Yes, it's all going to be on the website, Dent Makers, when it is released, which hopefully will be in the next couple of months. And, so it'll all be on there, but we're going to put together kind of little paths or journeys that people can go on. So you can come to Dent Makers, and if, let's say you 1 month you decide you want to improve your financial habits or something, then, your path to success might include all of these things inside the Dent Makers website. So it's kind of like you're creating a little ecosystem of success, if that makes sense. And so that's really what we're focusing on. So what is this is the final question. What is Dent Makers right now? Basically, what does it include right now? It includes the community at the moment, the circle, which we have a bunch of people in there. Also includes the book club. Right now, we're starting with Psycho-Cybernetics will be our first book, and we are going to be breaking down Psycho-Cybernetics, and we are going to be providing an action plan for the book so you can implement the ideas right away. Again, for a long time in my life, I just absorbed information and didn't put it into practice. It basically does nothing for you. Your brain just becomes a knowledge bank, and that's it. So taking action on the things you learn is much more important, whether you continue to adopt the habits from books, or whether you keep learning or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But as long as you're trying one thing, then you will see success. We're also having our first call on this coming Saturday, April 6th. So that will be our first live call. It will be at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 Eastern. And that is US time, of course, for now. But that's that. If you have any other questions, feel free to let me know down below.